What's up everyone, welcome to the 7th tutorial in our PyPlot course. Now we'll move on to the next commonly used graph type, and that is going to be the pie chart. Just like with the bar graph, we'll just create and customize a pretty simple pie chart here. So we'll first create another separate dataset for this pie chart because again it represents a slightly different kind of data. We'll be plotting that dataset on a pie chart and then of course customizing the pie chart a little bit. So let's head on over to the code now. Alright, so last time we finished up with our bar charts or bar graphs, doesn't really matter which one you want to call it, and we saw that's pretty easy to create. Well, a pie chart is going to be a little bit different. It's kind of the same sort of concept. We have some kind of categorical data, but we'll talk about that in just a second here. So as per usual, we're going to get started with a new cell, just going to zoom in there for you guys. Okay, so whereas with a bar graph, we're representing some categorical data, the values are not necessarily connected. Okay, so the value of this one has no effect on the value of this one. However, with a pie chart, it's very slightly different. Pie charts are going to be used to represent proportional data. Okay, so there's no maximum value to these numbers, but with a pie chart, every number is going to be representative of a portion of all the possible values. So typically these are going to be used for percentages. Okay, so let's say we have 100 possible values. That means if we're going to use a pie chart, all of the values are going to add up to 100. Now, PyPlot actually does pretty much all of this for us. We just need to enter the numbers and it figures out what the total value should be and what the proportions are. So once again, we'll create some data. We'll call this something like pie chart data. Okay, and again, I'm going to use a dictionary for this. So once again, we'll just use the labels 1, 2, and 3. And 3. Okay, and we'll start out by using real percentages. So let's say we are out of 100, maybe 1 has 30%, 2 has 20%, and 3 has 50%. Okay, so these numbers will all add up to 100. Okay, so after this, in order to actually plot it, it's super simple. Once again, we're going to do plt dot, and this time we're going to do pi to represent a pie chart. Now, pie charts are a little bit more complex. There's actually a lot more things that we can enter in as parameters. We'll just enter in a couple for now, and then we'll talk about how to change those up when it comes time to customize things. So we'll start by using our pie chart data and just the values here. So we'll do pie chart data dot values like so. Okay, and then we should probably assign the labels. So we'll also add in labels, and this is going to be equal to our pie chart data, and this one is just going to be the keys. So a little bit different here in that with our bar graph, we were doing the keys as the x values, okay, and then these as the y values. A pie chart is going to be different, okay, because we are basically using the values as the inputs, and then the labels are just there to tell us what those represent, okay. So it's almost the reverse of our bar graph. So let's go ahead and, actually I guess we'll need to show it, so plt.show like so, and then we'll go ahead and just give that a run. Okay, cool stuff. So you can see that we have this circle that represents 100%. We know that 2 is 20%, 1 is 30%, and then 3 is 50%. So actually, regardless of what numbers we enter in here, PyPlot figures out that this is proportionate. So if we see 30, 20, and 50, it's going to add up all the values and say, well, the total is 100. This is 30 out of 100, 20 out of 100, and then 50 out of 100. We could enter completely random numbers here if we want. We do like 4, 9, and I don't know, maybe 20. Okay, these numbers don't really add up to anything special. I mean, 33 is, nothing special. But it knows automatically that this is each of these numbers represents a proportion of the whole. Okay, so that's really what a pie chart is for. We have numbers that add up to a whole, and each of these numbers is going to be representative of a portion of the whole. Okay, Now, there are some cool things that we can do to kind of customize this guy up. For example, I don't really like the angle that this is on. So we can actually set a start angle. We can pass in a start angle parameter. Okay, and this takes degrees. So let's say we want to do 90 degrees. Okay, you can see that this is kind of rotated up by 90 degrees there. Okay, so that's one thing that you can do. Another thing that you can do if you want to highlight one specific section is to what's called explode it. So because we have 3 categories here, we want to pass in 3 different explode values. So what we're going to do is create a variable called explode, and this is just going to be a tuple. So just bear with me here. Let's say we want to explode out 1. Okay, for this we're going to do maybe 0.1, and then 0 and 0. Okay, and then I'm going to pass in my explode parameter here. Actually, you know what? This is kind of running off the line. So start angle there. Explode is going to be equal to our explode variable that we just created. So let's go ahead and give that a run. So you can see that 1 is now highlighted, and that's because we did an explode of 0.1. We can make this bigger if we want. A 0.5 will give a bigger effect, so we'll kind of shove it out of there a bit more. We can explode them all if we want, so let's say we wanted to do like a 0.2 for all of them. Okay, that's totally fine too. Does that. But generally speaking, we use the explode to highlight one specific thing. This is very good if you're presenting data in, I don't know, maybe like a PowerPoint presentation, or you got like a business meeting or something like that, and you essentially just want to display this data. You really want to highlight that, okay? Then you would use the explode there. Just remember that this is going to correspond with whatever values you put in. Okay, so you need to provide 1 for each of the values. In this case, 3 values, so 3 values here. And the index is going to kind of be the one that's exploded based on the index here. Okay, so 1 matches with this one, 2 matches with this one, and 3 matches with this one. Okay, so again, if we wanted to highlight the 1, we could do this. Maybe not quite so much for dramatic explode, but there you go. Now, one other cool thing we can do just to make this look a bit fancier is to add a shadow. So we can pass in a shadow parameter, okay, and this is going to take in a Boolean. So I'm just going to say true. The default value is actually false, but because this is going to be true, you can see that it adds this kind of nice shadow in there. So I think in this particular case, we'd probably want to explode that out a bit more. We probably actually want to rotate this a bit more, maybe to 180, just to highlight that 1 a bit more. We can go ahead and run that, and then we get this really cool effect here. So it just makes it look a little bit fancier. Okay, so there are other options to customize your pie chart, but again, it doesn't really make too much sense for me to go through each and every one of them. If you want to learn how to customize that a bit more, then I would highly recommend you check out the documentation. There is a lot of really cool stuff that we can do with our pie charts, including nesting pie charts, just like fancier things, and make them look really, really cool. Actually, the same goes with our bar graphs as well. If you do want to check out the documentation on how to customize those further, that is always recommended. Otherwise, we'll wrap this section up. We basically just created a pie chart. We used our labels. Again, it's kind of used to represent categorical data, but each of the categories is going to represent a part of a whole. So the numbers that you enter are going to be proportions of some total value, whereas that wasn't so much the case with bar graphs. We saw a couple of different ways we can customize things. When we come back, we're going to be working on histograms, which seem like bar graphs, but are very, very slightly different in kind of the type of data that they represent. Okay, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.